Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Going Executive Directors Show. I'm Brandy and this is Jeff, and our purpose here is to give you the skills, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and daily activities needed for you to build a solid, profitable business. Now, we do have a generic show that we do after this, so if you guys are waiting for the leadership show that is coming up at noon, this is the Going Executive Show, and we will be mentioning company names here, just as an FYI. So today, we are going over the 21 qualities of a leader, and we are on quality number 3, commitment. I have my notes here, so if you're wondering why I'm looking down, that is why. It's to keep me on track, mostly. So, commitment, it separates the doers from the dreamers. When people get started, you are one of these 3 people. You're number one of the posers, somebody with a lottery mentality and thinking that somebody's just going to do all the work for you. Number 2, amateur. There has to be that one thing that I can learn and this is just going to work out. Number 3 is the professional, somebody with the realistic expectations that this is going to take a lot of work. So out of these 3, I have a question for you. Out of these 3, where do you feel you're at? Because are you thinking like, oh, this is just going to work out. I could get my 3 people and they're just going to do all the work. Or are you kind of opening up to more training and what I need to do and asking more questions? Or do you have the expectation like, I'm going to do this as a business? Hey everyone! Alright, so next up, I'm going to have Jeff actually take over this because he is a certified John Maxwell coach, and he's going to take over with the rest of what you can do to better your commitment. Jeff?
Okay guys, Kathy's here. Hello. I see Lori and Tom just jumped on. So what we're talking about is commitment is, doing the deal day after day. Commitment is doing the thing that you're supposed to do long after the feeling leaves you, because everybody can get motivated for the minute. Everybody kind of sees the plan and it's like, oh great, it would be amazing if I was able to hit one person and it would all work out. Most people figure it out. Jim's here from Tennessee. Hello. Most people figure it out really quickly that there's more work to it than what they thought. Especially after you talk to a couple people and you thought that they were going to be the ones. You thought they were going to be the ones that get in, and you thought they were going to be the ones that build, and they were going to be the ones that put it all together, and they have all the skill, and they have all the talent, and they know everyone. And then they get in, or they don't get in, and they don't do anything. Dave Peters is here. What's happening, sir? And I do believe he is going to build $1 million business based on the commitment of what he's doing. So it says commitment starts in the heart. So this is something that's deeper than just writing down a goal. A lot of people write down a goal and they're like, I'm committed. I wrote it down. Well, where it really starts is every day getting up and doing the deal and doing the thing you're supposed to do, even when the feeling's not there. I was taught early on, you have to think right, to act right, to feel right. And what most people do is the exact opposite. They talk about how they feel. Well, I didn't feel like doing it, and I didn't feel motivated, and I didn't feel committed, therefore I didn't do anything. That doesn't work in business. Unfortunately, it doesn't work really anywhere in life. It doesn't work in relationships. It doesn't work in business. It doesn't work in government. It doesn't work anywhere. How you feel is absolutely irrelevant to what needs to get done to make money. Especially inside of direct sales or network marketing. And here's the thing. There's about 10 different skills you need to know, 10 different things you need to commit to get things rolling. Number 1, you have to commit to getting people started. And here's the thing. Everybody decides whether they're going to get started or not. Now, what I do is I tell people, look, we're going to make a list of 10 people and I will help you actually physically talk to them. Some people never make that list. Some people make that list and then try to go about it doing it themselves. Some people make that list. I end up talking to 1 or 2, and then they got it and they start doing it, which is fine. That's the whole objective. Anybody can take off at any point. I'm just saying I'm committed to helping people that I recruit at least talk to their first 10 people, and I track it. I write it all down. I've been on the phone with several people. with Jim Maddox on here out of Tennessee. I've been on the phone with several people for Dave. I've been on the phone with several people for Tom that's on here. That's what I do is I get on the phone and I actually do the presentation. They do the introduction, I do the presentation, and then we try to move them to the next step. So that's the first commitment. The second commitment is, are you going to commit to doing those things for at least a year? Now, why do we say at least a year? You have to give things adequate time to be able to develop, to be able to understand. Eric Worre, who's one of the top trainers inside of our industry, actually, I think he is the top trainer inside of our industry, at least financially, he's the top trainer. One of the things he says is, he goes, you better commit a year. He goes, it's going to take you a year to understand all the ins and outs of this business if you're doing it daily. If you're doing it daily. Now, if you're screwing around and you take a month and you miss a meeting here and you don't go there and you're worried about this and you get off track, that's not committing to a year. Committing to a year is actually doing it for a year. He goes, by the end of the year, there's two things that should happen. First of all, you should understand what's going on. Second of all, you should be able to break even. And break even meaning you should pay for you should be able to pay for your product. You should be able to pay for your events. You should be able to pay for the conventions. You should be able to actively activate or actively build your business and the business actually pay for it. That's the whole idea. What most people do is the exact opposite. They make $500 and they go out on a spending spree and blow it. And they blow it on stuff that is of little to no value. And they end up behind, and they don't know why they end up behind. And it's not because you have a business now. It's because you're a bad financial manager, really. And I was a horrible financial manager, so I'm not pointing fingers. I'm telling you what I did wrong. I made the money and I spent it and spent it and spent it. Instead of reinvesting it back into the business to make sure I can go to events, to make sure I can get there, to buy plane tickets, to buy hotel rooms, so that way I can learn from the best people in the industry and actually become good at doing this. And that was the main idea. So the third commitment is to be able to commit to personal development every single day, every single day, every single day. Right now, what you want to do is you want to decide what are you going to commit to personal development wise. And we really are in a self-development type business where that's what we do. We read books. And here's the thing. Everybody reads different books. Everybody listens to different podcasts. Brandy, like lately, what is the favorite book that you've read out of the stuff that, in the last year?
For personal development wise,
Yeah.
we also have a health and wellness business too, so I usually do a lot of blogs, so I go back and forth between personal development and health and wellness. But for personal development, I really like Grant Cardone's 10X rule.
Okay, so there's a book, 10X rule. What about listening? Like, is there anybody different that you've been listening to that's really made a difference? Clifton, what's up, man?
I've been listening to a lot of Jim Rohn, actually. His stuff is a little bit older, but it still applies for today.
So Jim Rohn, if you want to hint on personal development, so that's third. Fourth is market daily. You want to be actually out in the market, marketing daily. Basically, that's introducing people to what you do, or at least setting up to introduce people to what you do. Some people do that through blogs. Some people do that through posts. Some people do that through conversations. Some people will, be grabbing business cards so that way they can build into the marketplace. The fifth commitment that you need to make is presenting. Presenting on a regular basis. I made a commitment that I wanted to present the opportunity to somebody every single day. That is tough to do because in some days, there's a lot of, when you build to a certain point, there's a lot of administrative based stuff where you're checking back offices, you're calling corporate to make sure people are in the system. You're following back up with people who have already been presented to. Yesterday we did our luncheon. Yesterday we did our open house. And I was able to present to some new people at lunch. I was able to present to some new people at the opportunity meeting. But to be able to get in a personal presentation with somebody new that I am introducing it to, or that we are introducing it to, that's a lot harder. And a lot of people say, well, don't you just set a certain amount of time and do that? It's been very difficult my entire career to be able to set a certain amount of time, and that's when I do my presentations. I do the presentations whenever I can do them. I have been known to do a presentation at 12, 1, 2 in the morning simply because I have friends both on the East Coast and the West Coast and all the way out in Hawaii. You know, I will book that time whenever it seems appropriate, when I know that I'll be able to get on the phone and actually present to the person. So that's the 5th commitment. The 6th commitment is show up to a weekly event. Show up to a weekly event. If you don't show up to the weekly event, your people won't show up to the weekly event. Therefore, as my friend would say, you're pissing into a hurricane. Not into the wind, because into the wind, you could be, you know, that could go elsewhere. But if it's in a hurricane, it's going to get all over you. And everybody knows it. And what that means is people see that you are not committed. Therefore, this may not be a good thing. That's basically what you're telling your team. If you're not committed to it, you're basically telling your team, I'm not really committed to this. I don't think it'll really work, because if it would really work, I'd be there. Just like if you were on a national team that was going to win a Super Bowl, or a national team that's going to win a championship, you would be there every single practice. Because here's what happens. If you're not there at the practice, everybody knows you're not really on the team. And it's really that simple. The next core commitment would be, or the next commitment that you need to make is commit to a training. Commit to a weekly training. There are trainings everywhere in the industry, but specifically inside of this company and Legal Shield, there is a commitment. 8 p.m. We do have a team call. If you don't know about that, I'll get you on that schedule. Just text message me for the company, and we'll get you on that. 9. Am I on 9? 8. 7. 8. It's 8. The 8th commitment is commit to a regional. We're actually going Saturday to a regional, and this month, just because I have people in Ohio and people here and people in Louisville and people in Tennessee, we're actually also committing to going to the 18th. So we're going to 2 this month, but commit to at least going to 1 regional event. Now, there's regionals all over the country. All you have to do is look on the calendar, LegalShield.calendar or calendar.LegalShield. I can't remember. If you Google either one of those, what will happen is a calendar will come up for the entire country, I think even into Canada, and you can pull up a state. It'll physically show you where the event is and who's coming in and how to buy tickets. I mean, it shows you the address, it shows you everything. So you have the ability to keep up with what's going on. You also have the ability to keep up with, it's 8 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central, no, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, yes. And that's on Sundays. Now, I run a class that's generic. Hello, Gina. I run a class that's generic every Sunday night as well, starting at 9. And we're trying to figure out how all that's going to integrate in, because it is generic. It is for people in multiple industries, and we're trying to be very careful not to confuse people. So if you just want the generic info, that's one thing, but I'm going to start giving out specifics here on how we're building. So we're trying to figure out, Brandy and I have been talking about how we're going to build that in to our schedule, because we already have a lot going on. So that is number 8. Number 9 is attend all conventions. We do have a convention, a national corporate convention coming up in October. That convention in October is in Salt Lake City, and I'm looking at the back office, watching the people who are already committed to it. We knew about it and were committed to it at the last event. So you want to make that commitment. I made the commitment for the year. I told Mr. Kelly when I first signed up, he's like, hey, did you know about such and such, convention that's coming? I said, Mr. Kelly, we've already bought tickets. We've already got a room. We already know when we're leaving. And we already know who's coming with us. That's true. Bob Berg is going to be there. Bob Berg's one of the keynote speakers. If you don't know who Bob Berg is, Google him. He's written a ton of books. He's one of the guys that I've learned from, basically about mastering referrals and mastering meeting people. Very cool guy. Been in the game for a long time, and he's very, very good at it. But I told Mr. Kelly, I was like, look, the only 2 reasons why we're not there is check the hospital or the morgue. I'm like, we're either unconscious or dead. Other than that, I will be there. And the last commitment is make a massive action plan. What are you going to be doing? My massive action plan wasn't necessarily how much time. Everybody's like, well, how much time is this going to take? It takes different time for different people. I'll be honest, I probably don't work as much time as the average person does, but I get more done because I'm super focused. At the time that I do use, I use it to present to people. I use it to follow up with people. I use it to sign up people. I do not use it to check a bunch of random stuff and look stuff up and organize stuff and write stuff and plan stuff and this, that, and the other. I know where I'm headed. Now, that comes from years of being in the business. I understand the comp plan. I understand where people need to be placed. I have a gut feeling about who needs more help than others. And then I let basically them call me. If you need more help than, what I feel, you're getting, you call me. If you don't call me, that's only going to hurt you, in the end, because we're going to go out and find a bunch of people who want to do this. I want to help everybody, but I know I can't get to everybody. So if you need more help than what you're being given, you need to reach out. Now, you might not like the help, or you might not like the suggestion we give you, but I know what is best to be able to help the team move forward and get you into action where you're going to make money. You might not like that, but it is absolutely the truth of what we're trying to help you do and develop. Now, that's the 10 commitments, and that kind of starts on the inside, that you have to make a commitment on the inside. You can write it down, you can post it on your fridge, you can write it on the mirror, you can tell everybody, you can put it on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn. I'm committed, I'm committed, I'm committed. But words go away very quickly, and actions speak volume. Actions speak volume. In fact, if you want to know why people have a hard time following most people, it's because they talk and don't do. They talk and don't do. So that's, and Dave made a good point. The faster you start doing this stuff, the easier the commitment. And that's absolutely true. Watch this. The louder you are, more energy you use, and more often you do something, the more committed you appear to be to everyone else. The slower, quieter, in the background you do something, the less committed you look to everybody else. Therefore, it's harder to follow you, because they're like, you know what, this person's their voice is barely above the noise that's going on. What's happening, sir? So, commitment is tested by action. It's tested by action. So, that the world is going to say, are you really doing it? I know you told us you were going to go out and tear this up. I know you told us you're going to go out and you're going to, hit the streets and you're going to talk to everybody. But are you really? 3, commitment opens the door to achievement. So if you look at the 5 levels of leadership, level 1 being a position, you get a position, everybody signs up and you get a position in the company. Number 2 is, you go from position to permission. Somebody's like, hey, can you help me? But number 3 is where you're going to take off. Number 3 is called production. Number 3 is producing activity. Not producing new people, not signing them up, not getting them in, but it's actually producing the activity where everyone knows it's going to happen for you. That's what will start happening is everybody will start pointing out, this is going to happen. This is going to happen for this person. We can see it. We can see it in their words. We can see it in their energy. We can see it in their activity. Here's the thing. If you can't track it, you're not being active. If you can't track it, you have to be able to track what you're doing. And that's the funny thing. How many presentations have you done? And you start talking, well, I was internalizing and I've been meditating and I've been doing my affirmations in my head. I've been listening to my personal development. I've been doing all this. Well, I have a box here that I'm trying to write a number down. How many presentations have you done? None. Okay, so that's a 0. That's what I'm talking about. That's the number that we want to increase. That's the commitment that we have to be able to blow this up. If you want to blow this up, if you want to get somewhere, and I'll be real honest, if you want to replace an income, if you want to create a solid, stable income and you're not presenting once a day, you're kidding yourself. You're kidding yourself. I've never in 25 years seen anybody pull it off where they're doing it once a week. Never. So reflect on it. It says, you've got basically 4 types of people. 4 types of people. You got cop-outs. Those are the people with no goals, no commitment. They have no idea what's going on. You have holdouts. People who don't know that they can reach their goals and they're afraid to commit to anything. They're afraid to commit to anything, not just a business, but they don't commit to anything. They don't commit to relationships. They don't commit to anything. They're basically forced into commitment because unless they're forced, they just don't commit. That's just the people that they are. Then third, you have dropouts. Those are the people that sign up, get started, and then they're like, oh, this is hard. Oh, my friend told me no. Oh, that person that said that they were going to sign up didn't sign up, so I'm now going to get out. So you have the cop-outs, you have the holdouts, you have the dropouts, and last you have the all-outs. Those are the people who are committed. They're going to make it happen. They're going to show people. And really, guys, I mean, this is as simple as it is. I kind of explain it to people. Crawl, walk, run, sprint. Crawl, walk, run, sprint. Crawling is about 15 presentations a month. 15 presentations a month. If you're not tracking it, you're not doing 15 presentations. You might think you're doing 15 presentations. You might tell all of us you're doing 15 presentations, but unless you're writing it down, you're probably not doing it, because in your mind, you're going to go over the same presentation again and again and again in your head of what to say, what you should have said, what could have been said. And what will happen is your brain will trick you into thinking you're doing more work than you're doing, because your comfort zone wants to keep you exactly where you're at. That's a deep psychology analogy. We'll go into that more in another training, but that's what's really happening. What time is it?
We have 5 minutes.
Okay. So, crawl, 15 presentations. Walk, 30 presentations. 30 presentations once a day. At 30 presentations, what I know will happen is you will actually beat attrition. You'll beat attrition. Attrition is the rate at which people get out. You need a rate. People are like, man, I can't even get them in. Watch this. If you don't run fast enough, if you're not committed at a high enough level, it not only is hard to get them in, but it's hard to get them to stay. It's harder to get them to stay than it is to get them in. You won't know that until you start getting people in and they get out. But you have to run at a certain speed to do that. So crawling will get you started and get you into the activity and get you to understand what you're doing. At the walking speed, you can walk from here, Indiana to California. You can walk from here to the tip of Mexico. You can walk from here, honestly, to probably the tip of South America, as long as you can get through some of those countries. You want to avoid some. But you can walk all the way there. It'll just take you forever. And that same thing is true inside of direct sales or network marketing. Inside of Legal Shield, it's absolutely true. If you're going too slow, and that's what I see across the country, people are like, well, if that company's so great, how come those people aren't making so much more money? I'm like, honestly, because they're probably walking. It's so easy to make money here that people don't take off. They don't go all out like what, John Maxwell's talking about. You have to go all out. Kanitha's here. Hello. We have a guest. I'm going to bring her on. No. So, crawl, walk. What does run look like? Run is 45 presentations a month plus. If you personally are doing 45 presentations a month plus, that's more than one a day. I mean, honestly, at any other job, your ass would be fired, right? I mean, they wouldn't let you come back. They'd be like, hey, what'd you do today? Well, I did one presentation. You did one presentation all day? You mean you sat here for 8 hours? You're talking about 8 hours passed by and you did one presentation. That's all you did all day? Yeah. They'd be like, you're fired. I mean, it would only take one day, maybe two, that you could get away with it before somebody found out what you were doing and you weren't doing enough. So here's the thing. In your eyes, because you've never done this before, that seems like a lot, right? That seems like a lot. But it's not a ton. But here's the thing. At 45 presentations, not even 2 a day. Not even 2 a day. In the world of direct sales, in the world of network marketing, in the world of Legal Shield, you would be beating, oh my gosh, like I could bring on leader after leader and I would ask them, I said, look, if I grab a new person and they commit to doing 45 presentations a month, I would have most leaders stop me and be like, that's a lot. I mean, I wouldn't even get to ask the question before they stop me. And here's the thing, at any other job, if you were in any other profession that required presentations, you'd be fired for not doing that. Fired. There's no company on the planet that would allow you to do that little and stay in business. I mean, the business would collapse. That's the run. Now, the sprint is 60 presentations plus. That's 2 a day plus, which is a joke, really. Here's the problem. The problem is not the 60 presentations. The problem is the skill to get in front of people. That's the problem. The problem is how do you get in front of 60 people? The second problem is how do you get in front of 60 people consistently? That's tough. The cost of investment is being small, why most people don't run. So it's I don't even think it's a commitment, because I've worked with people who have spent $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 and they still don't do it. I have friends that are in real estate. I'll be honest, I have friends in real estate right now that spent somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to get started. And I'm like, great, how many houses have you bought? They're like, none. I mean, I see it all the time. Guys, there's 25,000 people who have bought a specific program. There's another company that I know has 100,000 people in it that they spent somewhere between $7,500 to $25,000. $7,500 to $25,000 to enter the program. And this is not Fortune Builders. This is another company. There's over 100,000 people who have entered that program, and 97% of them never buy a house. Never. They don't even buy their own house, let alone somebody else's, and they spent $7,500 to $25,000 to learn how to do something you can watch on YouTube. It is not the amount of money. That's a great excuse, but that's not the reason. The reason is people just don't know what they don't know, and they don't engage. And, part of it is the training, part of it is the teaching. Part of it is here's what's really going to take. So we talked about crawl, 15 presentations. We talked about walk, 30 presentations. We talked about running at 45 presentations. Sprinting is at 60. Now, there's one more level. And very few people ever run at this level, and that's all out. What is your potential? A sprint, you can do a sprint for a period of time, but there's something past a sprint. Like, there's sprinting to, clock a race. They're sprinting to track. But there's another level where you're just going all out. You have to get out of the situation you're in. You've got to figure it out. And you look back and you've done so much that you don't, it's almost seems like it's impossible you put in that much work in that little time. And you've seen this from the greatest people on the planet. You've heard about it. You've heard about the Bill Gates where he, didn't even go take a shower, wouldn't shave, and they just sat at the computer and banged it out and built these massive infrastructures. That kind of worked out for Bill Gates. You've heard about the Steve Jobs who worked day after day after day, right? You've heard about the athletes. There's the Larry Birds of the world that sat and just shot 500 or 1,000, free throws before he went to school, 1,000 free throws after he went to school. You've heard about, the LeBron James and his work ethic and his schedule. I've heard about, as much as I don't like it, the Patriots, and you hear about, the quarterback, and what the hell's the quarterback's name? I'm sorry, my brain's and I'm not, Tom Brady. You look at Tom Brady, and if you read about Tom Brady's schedule, about what he'll do and what he'll eat, this guy only eats certain things. We're not talking about other people on here, Dave, but you're absolutely right. There's a certain amount of people, and there's certain schedules where, certain people do not show 100 people the presentation and their lifetime of being involved. And there's other people who will show 100 people the presentation in their first 24 hours, or maybe their first week, or maybe their first month. Does that mean you have to do that? No, we're talking about the extreme. We're talking about the best people in the industry. We're talking about the people who are the cream of the crop, the top 100 earners in the world. But my point is there's nothing different between them and you other than they decided to work at that speed, at that level, and you didn't. That's the only difference. They decided to work at that level. They could do it because they live in Houston. What the hell does living in Houston, Texas have to do with living in Kentucky or Indiana or Tennessee or anywhere else? There's nothing different. Well, they must know a lot of people. Well, that's an assumption. I'm not saying pick up the Yellow Pages or just go online and contact. But, some of you have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people that you're connected to on Facebook, and you've talked to 2 of them. That's my point. So commitment level. What is your commitment level? And here's what I found. Your commitment level usually equals what you feel you're worth. That's painful. And that's what it really comes down to. I can tell how hard somebody's working based on the commitment level of what they feel they're worth. If you feel you're worth a lot, I watch people's commitment get up there real fast. And we support everybody. If you can only do 3, do 3. The best you can do 3 presentations a month. If you can do 10, do 10. We support you. Hi, Doris. How are you? If you can do 25, great. We support you. My goal, and Brandy and I's goal as help and as support and as leaders of an organization, our goal is to run at our potential and show you how to run at yours. My goal isn't to make you do anything. It's to get you to perform at a higher level than what you're performing right now. You know, that's what leadership really comes down to is, you know, helping people do things beyond what they thought were capable, and they're only going to do them because you are around, inspiring, motivating, maybe teaching. That's the reason why people run at a faster, higher level. So that's what we're here for. I hope this helped. If you guys got something out of this, please let us know. Just to kind of end, it says, you know, you got to measure what you're doing. You got to know what's basically what it's really worth to you. Jerry, how are you? It says use the Edison method. If taking the first step towards commitment in a problem, try doing Thomas Edison, what he did. What did Thomas Edison do? Over 1,000 tries to get to where he's at. You know, former pro basketball player Bill Bradley, attended a summer basketball camp at the age of 15, conducted by Ed McMullen. He said during that camp, he made a statement that changed his life. He says, just remember that if you're not working at your game to the utmost of your ability, there'll be somebody out there with equal ability who's going to beat you. And there's only a few positions in the NBA. There's only a few positions. So if you don't take off and you don't do it, you're going to have an issue. So I appreciate everybody for being on. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope that helped. And tomorrow we're going over actually the fourth quality. And we're going over the 21 qualities of a leader. If you don't have that book, go get it. Appreciate it. And we're going to jump off here and get to our next show. Thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. Lori, we'll see you tomorrow.